Nearly 4 in 10 Americans over the age of 70 are living with peripheral neuropathy. Think about that for a moment. That is not a rare condition. That is not some obscure diagnosis that only affects a small group of people. That is your neighbor, your husband, your wife, your brother, your friend from church, maybe even you. And what makes that number even more concerning is this. A large percentage of people who have peripheral neuropathy have never been clearly told they have it. Not because they imagine the symptoms, not because their doctor does not care, but because neuropathy in the feet and legs is one of the most under-recognized and undertreated problems in adults over 60, and the cost of missing it is bigger than most people realize. This is not just about discomfort. This is not just about tingling. This is not just about my feet feel a little strange sometimes. This is about your balance, your confidence, your ability to stand, walk, turn, and move through your day without fear. Because once the nerves in your feet stop sending clear information to your brain, your body starts losing one of the most important things it depends on every second you are standing upright: feedback. That is when people start saying things like, "I don't trust my footing anymore. I feel unsteady in the shower. I avoid stairs when I can. I feel like I'm walking on cotton. It's not exactly pain. My feet just don't feel like mine." If any of that sounds familiar, stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what may actually be happening inside your body, why this becomes more common after 60, why it often keeps getting worse when the real cause is missed, and most importantly, 7 specific exercises you can start doing that target this problem at the source. Not vague advice, not just stay active, not try to walk more. I'm talking about structured movements with a purpose. Movements designed to improve circulation to the nerves, wake up the muscles in the feet, restore sensory input, and help rebuild the communication between your feet and your brain. And near the end, I'm going to share something that almost never gets enough attention in a standard medical visit, even though it may be one of the most important parts of this entire conversation. I'm Dr. David Coleman, and over the years I've seen too many people hear one of the most discouraging phrases a doctor can say. That's just part of getting older. No, it isn't. Getting older changes the body, yes. But numbness, burning, tingling, unstable walking, and loss of confidence in your footing should never be dismissed as if nothing can be done. Today, you're going to learn 3 things. First, what peripheral neuropathy actually is and why it becomes more common after 60. Second, the overlooked mechanism that may be driving it in many older adults, even in people who do not have diabetes. And third, 7 research-supported exercises that can help improve circulation, nerve signaling, balance, and foot function when done consistently. Let's start with what peripheral neuropathy really is. I want you to picture a simple communication system. Your brain sends messages down through your spinal cord and into the nerves that travel all the way into your hips, your legs, your ankles, your feet, and your toes. At the same time, those nerves are constantly sending messages back up. They report pressure, temperature, position, movement, texture, pain, vibration. That communication is happening all day long, usually without you ever thinking about it. It is one of the reasons you can stand up in the dark and still know where your feet are. It is one of the reasons you can step off a curb and immediately adjust. It is one of the reasons you can catch yourself before you fall. Peripheral neuropathy means those nerves are not doing that job well anymore. Sometimes they send weak signals. Sometimes they send distorted signals. Sometimes they stop sending certain signals altogether. That is when people begin to notice symptoms like numbness, tingling, burning, stabbing pain, pins and needles, reduced awareness of the floor, heaviness in the feet, or the strange sensation that they are wearing an invisible sock. And here is where many people immediately jump to one conclusion. Isn't neuropathy just a diabetes problem? Diabetes is one cause. It is an important cause, but it is not the only cause, and that matters. Because a lot of older adults assume that if their blood sugar is normal, neuropathy cannot be the explanation. That is simply not true. Age itself raises the risk. Reduced circulation raises the risk. Long-standing inflammation raises the risk. Certain nutrient issues can raise the risk. Past chemotherapy can raise the risk. Alcohol overuse can raise the risk. Spinal issues can sometimes contribute. And in many older adults, more than one factor is involved. But one of the biggest overlooked pieces of the puzzle is something I want you to understand clearly. the health of the tiny blood vessels that feed the nerves. Your peripheral nerves are living tissue. They are not wires made of plastic. They need oxygen, they need nutrients, they need blood flow. And that blood flow depends heavily on tiny vessels called capillaries. These vessels are incredibly small, fragile, and easy to ignore because you cannot feel them narrowing. You cannot see them slowing down, but over time, especially in the lower legs and feet, those small vessels become less efficient. Blood does not move as well. Tissue delivery weakens. Waste removal slows down. The nerve environment becomes less healthy. And nerves that are undernourished do not perform well. At first, maybe the symptoms are subtle. A little numbness in the toes, a little burning at night, a little unsteadiness when turning around, a little hesitation going downstairs. But slowly, that small loss of nerve function starts affecting everything built on top of it. Your gait changes, your confidence changes, your muscles compensate, your posture changes, your risk of falling rises. This is why neuropathy is not just a foot issue, it is a whole body function issue. And this is the part many people never hear explained. In a lot of older adults, the problem is not only the nerve itself, it is the environment around the nerve. Poor microcirculation, low sensory stimulation, reduced foot muscle activity, decreased movement variety, loss of balance feedback, less effective communication between the feet and the brain. In other words, the system starts going quiet. And when a system goes quiet, you do not fix it by doing nothing. You wake it back up. That is where these exercises come in. Because the goal here is not simply to exercise more. The goal is to deliver the right kind of input to the right tissues in the right way. Some of these movements improve the mechanical pumping of blood into and out of the lower legs. Some target sensory nerves. Some target the small muscles of the feet. Some help restore proprioception, your body's sense of position. And some help retrain the timing and coordination of walking. Individually, they may look simple. Together, they are powerful. Let's go through them one by one. Exercise 1. The morning ankle alphabet. This is the first thing I want many people to start with, especially if mornings are when the feet feel the stiffest, the dullest, or the most disconnected. Before you stand up and put weight through your feet, sit on the edge of your bed. Lift one foot off the ground and use your big toe to slowly trace the letters of the alphabet in the air, A through Z. Big, deliberate movements. Then switch sides. Why does this help? Because your ankle is one of the major gateways for blood flow, mobility, and nerve input into the foot. When you move it through multiple directions, up, down, inward, outward, diagonal, you are doing much more than loosening it up. You are mechanically pumping fluid. You are encouraging circulation. You are activating muscles around the ankle and shin, and you are giving the nervous system immediate movement input before that first standing step of the day. That matters. For many people with neuropathy, the first few steps in the morning are the worst. The feet feel delayed. The body does not trust the floor right away. This exercise helps prepare the system before you ask it to carry you. Think of it as priming the wiring before you switch the lights on. Do it slowly. Do it every morning. Give it about 2 to 3 minutes total. Simple. No equipment. Very effective. Exercise 2. Toe spread and towel scrunch. I call this one the foot wake up. Take a small hand towel and place it flat on the floor. Sit in a chair with bare feet and use your toes to scrunch the towel toward you. Grab, pull, release. Grab, pull, release. Do about 10 repetitions. Then, after that, spread your toes apart as wide as you can, hold for 3 seconds, and relax. Repeat that for 3 rounds on each foot. Now, why does this matter so much? Because most people spend decades using their feet like passive blocks instead of active structures. Shoes get stiffer. Walking becomes more repetitive. Foot muscles get weaker. Toe movement decreases. Sensory awareness drops. Over time, the small muscles inside the foot become underused. And that is a major problem because those muscles are connected to stability, arch control, pressure distribution, and sensory signaling. Your feet are not just there to hold you up, they are constantly sending information to your brain about where you are and how to adjust. When those muscles and receptors go quiet, the brain loses data. That is when walking becomes less precise. That is when balance becomes less automatic. That is when people start compensating with a wider stance, shorter steps, and more fear. The towel scrunch brings active work back into the foot. The toe spread helps restore control and awareness. Together, they help reawaken structures that may have been neglected for years. And here is an important point. This is not cosmetic. This is not about making your toes stronger for the sake of it. This is about rebuilding the foundation of every step you take. Do this while watching the news. Do it while your coffee is brewing. What matters most is consistency. Exercise 3. Heel to toe weight shifts. This one is one of the best balance retraining exercises because it teaches your brain to listen to your feet again. Stand at a kitchen counter or sturdy surface. Place both hands lightly on the edge, not to hold yourself up, just for safety. Now slowly shift your weight forward onto the balls of your feet. Hold for 2 seconds. Then shift your weight back toward your heels. Hold for 2 seconds. Repeat that 15 times. What is this doing? Every time you move your center of gravity, pressure shifts across the soles of your feet. That changing pressure should trigger a rich stream of sensory information up to the brain. Front of foot, back of foot, ankle adjustment, toe pressure, heel loading. In healthy nerve function, the brain uses this information instantly to maintain balance. But with neuropathy, those signals can become weaker or blurrier. The brain receives less accurate information, and balance becomes less reliable. That is why so many people say, "My legs feel strong enough, but I still feel unsteady." Because balance is not just about muscle, it is about communication. This exercise trains that communication. And this is where many people make a mistake. They focus only on strengthening the legs. Leg strength matters, yes, but if the feet are not sending clear information and the brain is not processing that information well, strength alone will not solve the whole problem. These weight shifts help reintroduce controlled sensory feedback in a safe, repeatable way. Do them slowly. Pay attention. Notice whether the front-back transition becomes smoother over time. The goal is not speed. The goal is clarity. Exercise 4. Textured surface walking. This is what I call the nerve awakener. Take a folded bath towel, a textured yoga mat, or another safe textured surface and place it on the floor. Walk across it in bare feet for about 5 minutes. Slowly, carefully, no rushing. Why does this work? Because nerves respond to input. If your feet spend most of the day inside cushioned shoes and walk only across smooth, predictable surfaces, the sensory system gets very little variety. The brain stops receiving rich information. The feet stop having to adapt. The nervous system gets less stimulation than it needs. Textured walking changes that. It gives the skin, the small joints, the muscles, and the nerve endings in the foot a broader range of signals to interpret. That increased sensory demand can help improve awareness, responsiveness, and organization of the system. This is especially valuable in neuropathy because one of the biggest losses is often sensory richness. The foot no longer reports back the way it used to. Textured walking gives it something to report. Now, a quick safety note. If you have severe numbness, poor skin integrity, open sores, or major balance issues, use caution and speak with your doctor or physical therapist before doing barefoot work. But for many people, done safely, this can be one of the simplest and most useful daily inputs you can provide. 5 minutes, once a day, steady and controlled. Exercise 5. Standing calf raises. This one is deceptively powerful. Stand at your counter. Rise up onto the balls of your feet as high as is comfortable. Hold for 1 second at the top, lower slowly. Do 2 sets of 15 repetitions. Here is why I love this exercise for neuropathy. Your calf muscles act like a pump. Every time they contract, they help move blood and fluid through the lower legs. They assist circulation. They help reduce stagnation. They support venous return, meaning blood moving back upward instead of pooling below. That matters because tissues that sit in a stagnant, inflamed environment do not heal or function as well. And the lower legs are one of the easiest places in the body for circulation to become sluggish, especially in older adults who sit a lot, move less, or have reduced ankle motion. Calf raises activate that pump directly. They also strengthen the lower leg, improve ankle control, and provide additional pressure change through the foot. which means more sensory stimulation as well. I want you to think of this movement as a circulation drill, not a bodybuilding exercise. Slow on the way up, slow on the way down, controlled the whole time. No bouncing, no jerking. By the end of a good set, your calves should feel awake and active, and that is exactly what we want. Exercise 6. Seated leg extension with ankle flex. This is one most people have never been taught, and it targets something extremely important: nerve mobility. Sit in a firm chair. Straighten one leg in front of you. Now flex the ankle by pulling your toes back toward your shin. Hold for 5 seconds. Then point the toes away. Hold for 5 seconds. Lower the leg. Repeat for 10 repetitions, then switch sides. What is happening here? The nerves that serve the lower leg and foot do not just need blood flow, they also need mobility. They slide, they lengthen, they respond to position changes. When the body gets stiff, sedentary, inflamed, or mechanically restricted, nerve movement can become less efficient. That can contribute to irritation, reduced tolerance, and poor signaling. This gentle movement helps mobilize the nerve pathway that runs from the lower back down through the leg and into the foot. Some therapists call this a nerve glide or neural mobilization technique. The key word is gentle. You are not trying to yank on the nerve. You are not pushing into pain. You are creating a mild, tolerable tension and release pattern that encourages movement and circulation along that line. This is especially helpful for people who feel tightness, pulling, or a strange deadness running down the back or outer part of the leg into the foot. Move slowly. Stay within comfort. Sharp pain is not the target. A mild stretch or pull is enough. Exercise 7. Slow marching in place. This is your integration exercise. Stand at your counter or near a stable surface. Now march in place slowly for 2 minutes. Lift one knee, then the other. Let your arms swing naturally if you can. Move with control, not speed. Why is this so useful? Because marching brings everything together: balance, weight shifting, single leg control, rhythm, coordination, timing, foot placement, hip control, core stability. And for someone with neuropathy, each of those pieces matters. Walking is not just one action. It is a series of constantly coordinated adjustments. When nerve feedback is reduced, that coordination becomes less automatic. Slow marching gives the brain a chance to practice those patterns in a simplified, deliberate format. This is not cardio. This is rehearsal. You are teaching the nervous system to organize movement again. The slower you go, the more information your brain has time to process. That is why I do not want you rushing through it. Slow marching at the end of your routine helps consolidate all the work you just did. It tells the nervous system, we are moving, we are balancing, we are coordinating. These pathways still matter. And that message matters more than most people realize. Now let me tell you something that almost never gets enough attention in a routine appointment. Most people with peripheral neuropathy are offered one of two things: medication or more waiting. Medication may help symptoms for some people. I am not dismissing that. Specialist evaluation can be important. I am not dismissing that either. But what many people never receive is a meaningful conversation about movement-based intervention. Not generic exercise, targeted movement. And that is a missed opportunity. Because the body is not passive in this process. The nervous system responds to use. Circulation responds to movement. Balance improves through challenge. Sensory pathways improve through input. Muscles reawaken through demand. In other words, the body often needs a reason to adapt. And when the right kind of movement is repeated consistently, adaptation becomes possible. Now, I want to be clear and responsible here. These exercises are not a magic cure. They are not a substitute for medical evaluation. They are not appropriate for every cause of neuropathy. And if you have rapidly worsening weakness, severe pain, foot wounds, major swelling, or sudden new symptoms, you need to speak with your doctor. But for many older adults dealing with chronic numbness, tingling, burning, and reduced foot awareness, a movement routine like this can become one of the most valuable things they do. Because it gives them back something medication alone often cannot: participation. Now let's turn this into a routine you can actually follow. Because the best exercise plan in the world means nothing if it is too complicated to maintain. Here is a simple structure. Daily morning start. Before standing up, do the ankle alphabet. 2 to 3 minutes total. That becomes your non-negotiable starting point. 3 times per week. Do the foot wake up and the balance reset together. That means towel scrunches, toe spreads, heel to toe, weight shifts. This whole block can take around 10 minutes. Daily circulation and sensory work. Add textured surface walking for 5 minutes. Standing calf raises. 2 sets of 15. This is your circulation and sensory combination. 3 times per week add seated leg extension with ankle flex, slow marching in place. These help connect the lower limb nerve pathway with walking coordination. If you want an even simpler version, do this. Every day, ankle alphabet textured walking calf, raises 3 days a week, add the rest. That alone would be a strong start for many people. Now let's talk expectations, because this is where people often get discouraged too soon. Nerve tissue changes slowly. That is the truth. This is not the kind of problem where most people do a few exercises for 4 days and say, "Wow, everything is fixed." That is not how this works. What many people notice first is not pain reduction, it is better awareness. Their feet feel a little more present. Their first steps in the morning feel a little less awkward. Their balance feels a little more dependable. They feel more stable standing at the sink or turning around in the kitchen. That is often the beginning. Then, over time, some people notice less nighttime burning, less tingling, less fear with walking, less hesitation on uneven ground. For many, meaningful changes begin to show up somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks of consistency. Not perfection, consistency. That is the key. You do not need to do these aggressively. You do not need to do them for an hour a day. You do not need expensive equipment. You need repetition. You need patience. And you need to stop thinking that nothing can change just because the problem has been there for a while. Because the nervous system remains adaptable far longer than most people have been led to believe. That does not mean every nerve fully recovers. It does not mean every symptom disappears. But it does mean improvement is possible. Function is improvable. Confidence is trainable. Balance is trainable. Circulation is trainable. Sensory awareness is trainable. And that is a message more people need to hear. If you are dealing with neuropathy symptoms, I also want you to take this conversation back to your own doctor or physical therapist. Ask whether your feet have been properly assessed. Ask whether balance has been evaluated. Ask whether a movement-based plan should be part of your care. Ask whether other causes need to be ruled out. Ask whether physical therapy focused on neuropathy could help. You deserve more than a prescription and a shrug. You deserve a plan. And now, at least, you know what a good starting plan can look like. So let's bring this all together. Peripheral neuropathy is common, especially after 60. It is often missed, minimized, or poorly explained. It can affect sensation, circulation, confidence, and balance in ways that quietly change daily life. And while diabetes is one cause, it is not the only cause. In many older adults, the problem is tied not only to the nerve itself, but to reduced blood flow, reduced sensory stimulation, decreased foot muscle activity, and weakening communication between the feet and the brain. That is why these 7 exercises matter. They are not random, they are targeted. The ankle alphabet helps prime circulation and motion before your first steps. The towel scrunch and toe spread help reactivate the small muscles of the feet. Heel to toe weight shifts retrain balance signaling. Textured surface walking restores sensory input. Calf raises improve the muscular pump of the lower leg. Seated leg extension with ankle flex helps mobilize the nerve pathway. Slow marching helps reintegrate rhythm, weight transfer, and coordination. That is a complete strategy, not for curing aging, but for actively supporting the systems neuropathy disrupts most. And maybe that is the most important message of all. You are not helpless here. If your feet have been numb, tingling, burning, or hard to trust, that does not mean your only option is to wait and hope. It means your body is asking for better input, better circulation, better movement, better signaling. These exercises are one practical way to start giving it exactly that. So if this resonated with you, do not wait for the perfect moment. Start with one thing. Tomorrow morning, before your feet hit the floor, Do the ankle alphabet. That is it. Start there, then build from there. Because the people who improve are very often not the people who found the most advanced treatment first. They are the people who began, the people who stayed consistent, the people who gave their body a reason to adapt. And if this kind of clear, practical health information is helpful to you, make sure you subscribe, because every week I put out content designed to help you protect your mobility, your balance, your strength, and your independence after 60. No fluff, no scare tactics, no nonsense, just useful information you can actually apply. And next time, I'm going to cover something that connects directly to today's conversation: the real reason balance declines after 60, and the simple daily fix most people never get taught. If today's message hit home, you won't want to miss that one. I'll see you in the next video.